This is the GTN Show. Welcome.
We've got a packed show for you. We've got race results. We're going to be discussing unique training venues as news on the growth of our sport and more.
Oh, and if you missed it, we had a rather eventful first WTS race of 2018, which just sort of got us asking, do triathletes really crash that much? Okay, but before we tackle crashing, we had hoped to be sat here retelling our Bath Half Marathon stories and who took the crown between Dan Lloyd and Heather. But sadly, it was cancelled.
I know. I do think I've been let off slightly lightly, but I do feel sorry for you, Mark, because I know you're in really good shape and looking for a good time. And, it just had to happen due to safety. There was too much snow. You guys in Canada and places watching us probably going, what? The UK? Yes, we did have snow. And it was more the fact of the logistics beforehand and the safety. And frustratingly, on the day, it was okay. And quite a few people ran it. I think you attempted to as well.
Yeah. No, but it definitely was the right decision. But one just down the road in Cambridge in the UK did still go ahead. But we had a rather funny result because, well, whilst we don't condone it, athletes do tend to pass numbers on to other competitors if they can't race themselves. But this person that passed their number on, well, the guy went and won it in 1 hour 6.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward, isn't it? If you know you're a really good runner or you're going to be best in your age, you'll get a prize. You probably, you shouldn't do it anyway, I should say, but you really shouldn't do it if you're going to be close to the front because you're going to get found out.
Yeah, so unfortunately they have had to disqualify him, which is a bit of a shame. 1 hour and 6 minutes.
If I was him, I would still say, well, that's, my PB, even if it's not on any official record.
Yeah. Well, moving on, we do tend to, as triathletes, be at the end of a lot of abuse from our cycling friends, if you can call them friends, when we get so much abuse from them, over how much we crash. So, do triathletes really crash that much?
Well, it is a contentious issue, isn't it? Especially in the office with GCN. I know when I started, they were like, oh, you're one of those. And it's like, well, what? All triathletes are cyclists because we ride a bike. So where is that line to start with? Well, where does that reputation come from?
I would normally argue that we definitely don't. But after the weekend's events, the WTS race in Abu Dhabi, I don't have much of a leg to stand on, really. If you missed it, there were quite a lot of crashes. Admittedly, maybe not down to the athlete's fault.
Yeah. I mean, we when we were watching it, when Flora was, had a breakaway at the front, and we're like, she's one of the most skilled riders in the triathlon circuit and a good cyclist, and she rides cross country mountain biking, so she knows how to corner. And she had a message from her, and she was just saying it was just lethal. And I think the fact that it was weather, it rained in Abu Dhabi, and they don't get rain.
Yeah, doesn't
and I think
happen often.
What the athletes think is just the oil came to the surface, and they just couldn't hold their bikes on the ground.
You're racing on an F1 circuit where cars are tearing it around day in, day out. So it's going to be a greasy surface when it rains. So unfortunately, they were going into corners that were essentially blind. They just had that tunnel, that sweeping corner, and it's just a white wall. You can't see the corner or the apex. There's no way of judging it. Quite a lot of accidents. And of course, on the dead turns as well around cones. So I think that also brings up the topic of should events and courses be, sort of thought through a little bit more carefully with triathlon.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with that event next year and whether athletes maybe think of missing the first World Tour Series, because it's a big event on the ITU calendar. But if athletes are getting injured, especially this season, quite a few of them have put their Commonwealth Games chances at risk.
Yeah, but back to the original question, do triathletes really crash that much? Why is it that they think we do?
Well, there's so many factors, I think, but one of the first ones that I experienced as I was originally came into cycling and then became a triathlete and put some time trial bars on my road bike, and I just left them on because I was going on a group ride and thought that's fine, there's no point in taking them off again. And everyone was like, oh, you're a triathlete, we didn't realise. And then they start sort of making comments. So I think that they think that because we've got TT bars on, we're going to spend all our time there, so we're not as safe in that position, which obviously you're not in a group ride. But
it's funny though that you picked up on the fact that they instantly think you're a triathlete. But I know a lot of cyclists that put aero bars on just for faster commute. Maybe they're instantly thought of as triathletes. So maybe we are getting, blamed for some crashes that aren't actually from triathletes.
And don't forget, cyclists have time trials. There are time trialing cyclists out there.
Well, maybe it's also just because triathletes go faster.
They're jealous.
But also, I think there is a big factor around just the fact the bikes that we ride. They are a lot more, if we are riding TT bikes, they are quite aggressive. They're quite twitchy.
Yeah.
It's not so easy to handle them.
They're designed for going fast in a straight line.
Yeah, so understandably, crashes do happen on those kind of bikes. equally also the fact that we are trying to train across 3 different sports. So we don't spend as much time on the bike as perhaps a pure cyclist.
Yeah, and with that, partly to do with time, but partly to do with weather and the craze of indoor training, like we're seeing, so many of the pros doing it. I think a lot of the age groupers are taking from that and doing a lot of their training on the turbo or on watt bikes. And yes, you can say you've done so many miles, but you haven't done those miles outside. So you've gained the power in your legs and the endurance and the strength, but you haven't gained the skills that would be equivalent to cycling that far outside.
Yeah.
So.
And also the fact that a lot of our races are non-drafting.
Yeah.
You're riding solo, so a lot of us train solo. So when we ride in a group, maybe we're not quite used to it. So understandably, maybe we don't have the skills there for group riding or drafting style of cycling or racing.
I can tell there's going to be a lot of viewers getting sort of almost angry at us saying, but we do know how to ride our bikes, and this is just, we're talking about the opinion that cyclists have on us. But we want to know what you think, or why you think triathletes do have this reputation, why they crash. And we've actually going to ask you in the poll. We're just going to get a reference here because there's a few options to make sure we get them all.
So we have, is it because we ride solo, we're not used to riding in a group or draft legal? Is it because of the bike, riding a TT bike, more aggressive? Or is it because we spend less time on the bike, i.e. we have less experience with cycling? Or is it because we ride indoors more? And obviously, maybe if you don't believe that we crash that much, then there is an option for not true, and you can enter that poll by clicking on the link above Heather said. In 1954, a medical student at Oxford University in the UK lined up at Iffley Road Sports Ground to take part in a mile running race. And well, the rest is history.
Yeah, Sir Roger Bannister clocked a time of 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds to be the first ever runner to break that 4-minute mile barrier.
And later that year, he then went on to win gold in the 1954 Commonwealth Games, and then later on again became a leading neurologist.
Well, sadly, Sir Roger Bannister did actually pass away over the weekend at the age of 88, but his legacy definitely lives on.
Yeah, I mean, he did break down walls that people sort of deemed impossible, and inspired many athletes as a result, and the footage still sends shivers down my spine. Now this one's for our adventurers, and it comes from Land Rover. Yep, you heard me, the car manufacturer Land Rover. But this one isn't about cars. Now I read a couple of years ago that Land Rover and Mini were exploring outside the automotive world and set up a couple of design hubs in Brooklyn and London.
Well, the result was a smartphone, and it came from the concept of a Land Rover Discovery, a 4x4 SUV vehicle, which is basically designed to endure the outdoors, so it can survive underwater, it's good in extreme temperatures.
So perfect for cycling, running, mountain biking, maybe even a bit of swim run. Perhaps too far. But it is a really cool idea for our adventurers out there. We could take it out when we're running, and we can use its inbuilt mapping system. It's got sort of a compass, an SOS light. You can even use it through your gloves.
That bit appeals to me. We were just talking about that. I hate it in the winter when your phone rings and it's just not worth the effort having to get your phone out of a packet, take your glove off, and then try and answer it. By then, you've missed your call anyway.
And then trying to get your wet glove back on. I hate it. But then also you have, it withstands vibration, heat, cold. It's even waterproof.
Apparently to 1.8 metres, so careful, make sure you're not near a swimming pool that's any deeper than that.
Yeah, it's really cool. So you can get hold of that phone in April this year.
Over the past few weeks, there's been a couple of positive announcements coming out from the ITU. They've just agreed a deal with the running brand ASICS to become a global development partner, and that's basically a combined effort to help promote and develop the sport of triathlon internationally. And the ITU president has been quoted in saying that it's going to help maintain the current upward trajectory of the sport of triathlon. And this partnership allows us to reach further than ever in that quest.
Well, another boost for ITU, and more specifically for the World Triathlon Series, was announced a few weeks ago. Is a partnership with Infront Media, a sports marketing group. Now they're going to work jointly with ITU in developing sponsorship for the WTS series. They're going to do digital strategies. They're also going to sell the rights for the WTS events. So in all, it's looking pretty good for the ITU and, well, the sport of triathlon as it grows and it makes it more mainstream. So it's on the up.
It's great. we've mentioned on our show before the Women for Tri initiative. Well, I'm pleased to announce that they've actually got some new members for 2018. They've got 3 new brand ambassadors, and they've also got 27 new regional ambassadors from 7 different countries.
Yeah, until now, the initiative has been solely focused on America, and we've kind of been hoping it's going to spread further afield, and it finally has. It's now available in Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, the UK, China, and the UAE, which is pretty apt with International Women's Day just around the corner.
It is. Well, it's headed up by 3 new brand ambassadors, including Julie Moss, Minda Dentler, Samantha Warrener. And the 27 regional ambassadors have all been chosen from the work that they've already done in their areas for getting women into sport, for setting up local events and their presence on social media. So it's all just really positive. And again, another story of getting more people into the sport. And I think anything that does that, whether it's solely for women or men as well, it's a great promotion for triathlon.
Well, now for something a little bit different. And endless swimming pools starting to become kind of common. But how about a bottomless swimming pool? We're not exactly talking about a bottomless swimming pool here. We're actually talking about a pool that has a glass bottom, and it's been designed and built in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Well, this one comes out of the 7th floor, and it literally comes straight out of the Anaha building, 23 metres above the ground. So as you're swimming, you are looking down at the ground 23 metres below you.
That must feel weird.
Bit crazy, and it's probably not the best place to swim if you're a bit shy, or if maybe you don't want anyone analysing your less than perfect swim stroke, because you can look at people from all angles.
Well, these are starting to become sort of common. There's one already in Houston, there's one in Italy, and there's plans for one in London and India. But whilst we're on the subject of sports facilities in odd locations, it's kind of reminded me of one that was announced late last year, and it's in London. It's the first rooftop running track.
Yeah, it's the White Collar Factory. It's on the 16th floor. It's a 150-metre track, and interestingly, they did do the maths that if you want to run a mile, then it's over 10 laps of this track. So if you were training for an Ironman, it would be quite a lot of running. But I mean, that's not really the point. It's about getting employees motivated outside, fresh air, and there's so much positive that hopefully they hope will transfer back into the workplace.
Well, I guess, yeah, if you're stuck in the city, you've got a city job, it can be hard to find locations to go and do your training. So it's a great incentive and just idea, really, yeah. News in, Alistair Brownlee has withdrawn from this Saturday's Mooloolaba ITU World Cup. He still plans to travel out to Noosa, prepares for the Commonwealth Games, but he won't be joining the stacked field this weekend.
Yeah, this is the second week in a row that he's had to pull out of an event after the World Triathlon Series, where he cited a sore calf, and he said that basically he couldn't trust himself not to give 100%, and if he's racing at 100%, then he's likely to do more damage.
Yeah, if there's one thing we know about Alistair, he has a good track record of recovering from injuries. Now, he went under the knife for quite a big operation on his hip last year, and he still recovered early this year to take the Ironman 70.3 Dubai win, and quite convincingly so. And he also had quite a big operation again before the Olympic Games in Rio, where he then went on to take his 2nd Olympic title. So I'm not sure this is going to hold him back too much.
No, and it's not going to affect the competition too much in Mooloolaba either. There's still a strong men's field. There's Ryan Sissons, Aaron Royal, Richard Murray, who are making it to the start line. And on the women's side, it's going to be an interesting race with Kristen Kasper and Natalie Van Kerveden. After their race, it was a sprint to the bronze last weekend. So it's going to be a good one to watch. And it's time for the weekly poll, and last week we had a bit of a discussion as to what happens down the finish chute of a race, or what should an Ironman no longer allow any supporters to come down the finish chute with you. But we saw at Challenge that there was some podium girls bringing balloons down behind the winners, and we've even seen in Thailand elephants, and some smaller races still do allow family members. So it doesn't seem to be one rule for all events. We wanted to know what you thought, if you had a choice, who or what you would choose to come down and finish shoot with you. And the results are in.
Yeah, in 4th place, we have Other with 2%. And in 3rd place, it was Race Officials with 9%. And then, interestingly, in 2nd, it was Everyone with 21%.
Yeah, just have a big party down the finish chute. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what people used to do. You'd be quite proud that you've just finished an Ironman, so you take your kids hand in hand across the line. But this is not allowed in a lot of races nowadays. Yeah. So in top spot, it was no one with 65%. So clearly everyone's coming around to these rule changes, and I guess it's a lot safer. If, with races getting bigger, more competitive, it's just not that safe, really, is it?
It does make sense, even though you might sort of want that bit of fun with your friends and family. It's the logical way forward. Sadly.
Absolutely. And do remember, you can enter our poll for this week by clicking just up here. It's time for the caption. competition.
Well, last week we had this picture of an athlete seemingly in the wrong lane, doing what looked like a press-up. And we had some great suggestions. We actually have a runner-up this week from Steph Howden. Coach said to focus on my numbers.
I like it. And this one's from Bazza Clark 05. You are the winner. He said, or she said, upon closer inspection, it seems like I might be in the wrong lane, but I'm not far away. Very good. So you are the winner of the GTN swim cap. So please do get in touch over Facebook to claim it.
Well, this week we've got a picture of James Cunningham just ahead of the Durban Ultra, looking a little less impressed with everything.
Slightly unfortunate photo, James.
He might be getting you back for this one, I think, Mark.
Well, yeah, please do drop your captions in the comments section below. Now for the race news, and to start things off, we've got the WTS race in Abu Dhabi, and we've already talked about the tough conditions they faced there, especially on the bike. Now, Johnny Brownlee was one of those athletes that unfortunately took a spill on the bike. Henry Schoeman, on the third lap, he saw an advantage and he made a break, and he got a nice gap going into T2 of around 13 seconds. He continued that to take the win overall, which is very impressive. He led out the swim, led off the bike, and then took the overall win. Mario Mola worked his way through the field to take second place, and then in third it was Vincent Louis.
On the women's side, there was quite a lot of drama on the bike as well. So the swim was led out by Jess Learmonth with Flora Duffy hot on her heels and Summer Cook, and a small front pack did form, but they were taking it pretty tentatively round the corners. But even with that, Flora Duffy, who was looking so strong on the bike, actually took a fall. And there was also Zverev, who was out with a nasty fall. I think Sophie Caldwell went down. One of the Canadian athletes also came down. So it became a fairly small front pack, and the chase pack were a minute behind. While moving out of T2, it was a small group of 4 who had a minute's lead on the chasing pack. So it became a race for 3 podium spots, and it was Rachel Klammer who went on to get her first W2S victory. It was a strong performance for Jess Learmonth to win the silver, her 3rd W2S medal of her career. And then it was a battle between Kirsten Casper and Natalie van Kerveden. A complete sprint finish. It actually came down to a photo finish, and it was Natalie van Kerveden who got the bronze.
The next set of results come from Ironman New Zealand, and on the men's side it was Uber swimmer Dylan McNeice that led the swim out with a 2 minute and 50-second gap over the chase pack, and then a further 2 minutes back was previous winner Cameron Brown. But 160k into the bike, it was Terenzo Bozzoni and Joe Skipper that took the lead. They surged to the front. They actually entered T2 after 180k's on the bike. In the lead still, it was Joe Skipper that set a new bike course record of 4 hours and 19 minutes. But as they hit the run, Terenzo Bozzoni just took off to take the win overall and a new overall course record, 8 minutes quicker than the previous course record. Joe Skipper in second, and then it was Cameron Brown that charged through the field on the run to take third.
Well, over on the women's side, it was a similar story to start with the swim, but it was a newbie, her first ever Ironman as a pro. Teresa Adam led the swim by 3 minutes, and she actually led Laura Siddle by almost 6 minutes coming out of the swim. But then it was the time for the work on the bike, and Laura Siddle and Jocelyn McCauley actually worked together, and by 140k they had the lead, and they kept that going into T2, with Adam a minute down going into T2. And then it was a running race initially between Siddle and McCauley, but Siddle made the move at about 23k, led the way from there and took the win. But then things changed a little bit, and it was Teresa Adam in her first Ironman as a pro who took the silver, representing New Zealand in her home country. Pretty cool. And then Jocelyn McCauley took third.
Now, the next set of results come from the lesser-known Durban Ultra. It also doubles as the South African Ultra Triathlon Championships, and although it is called an Ultra Triathlon, it is in fact a middle distance in some crazy distance. Now, they did experience quite tough conditions on the day, both in terms of the heat and the water with the conditions in the sea. So they had to cut down the swim from a 1.9 kilometre swim to a 1.2 kilometre swim. But in the men's race, we had quite a battle. We had the current ex-Terra world champion Bradley Weiss. We also had the 2017 top 5 Kona finisher James Cunningham. But actually, great to see him back racing because he did have quite a bad crash at the end of last year. He fractured some ribs, he also punctured his lung, and he also had a new child, Jack. So quite a lot to juggle there. Yeah. But in the men's race itself, Bradley did pull away on the bike quite early on. He continued to pull away to take the win overall. James Cunningham took second place, and then third it was Philip Sassy, who also had the second fastest run of the day.
Well, on the women's side, it was a tight battle for the first 2 phases of the race, really. Defending champion Anna Watkinson in the mix, as well as Jade Roberts. And then it wasn't until the run when Anna Watkinson started to show her form, and she pulled away to win by almost 10 minutes. Jade Roberts was in second and Mariella Dirks was third. It's time for the GTN Tribe, and I'm really excited to announce that we have our first club in South America. Ooh. This one is in from Brazil, sent in by Ricardo Morandini, and he sent some pictures and a few bits from Brazil's Triple Assessoria Esportiva, and they're based in the Brazilian highlands, north from what I could work out on the map of Sao Paulo.
Well, they've said that they've got a little over 100 members in their club, ranging from 5K runners, first timers, through to very experienced triathletes doing full distance Ironmans and all sorts, and just they're generally very fun and friendly group.
Well, they've sent in a lovely array of photos. There's one here that caught our eye. Doing a group core workout, it looks like, but they've taken it to the next level because they are standing not only on one leg, but half of them are using a wobble cushion.
Why only half of them? I wondered about that. I didn't notice that.
Oh, and look, there's a little dog involved as well.
Ah, look at that. Little, and also on the track doing some drill work and just, yeah.
It's a nice colour kit, and most of all, it just looks lovely and sunny and tropical. And I love Brazil. I've had the chance to actually go out there 5 times. I've been very lucky, and I would love the chance to go for a 6th time, but it's great to see what happens in the triathlon club out there.
And please do keep sending in your GTN Tribe photos and information about your clubs. We love hearing about them. We love just filling our map as well. So use the hashtag GTN Tribe and send them in over Facebook. Now time for the GTN Pain Cave.
And to start things off, we've got this very pretty picture with a lovely view sent in from Ollie Bilby. GTN Pain Cave Turbo with a view on Hollybobs in Kerno. That's Cornwall, to those of you who don't know, in the southwest of the UK. Road to Kona 2019.
Very nice Argon 18 set up on his turbo, and that view's good, isn't it?
And I was looking at the picture, and this is before I knew that Ollie's actually been to Chattanooga, but that cap is from the 70.3 World Champs last year.
Very nice, and he's, well, I mean, yeah, why do you need to go abroad when you've got views like that, hey?
Yeah, I can't imagine that was last week, though.
Well, this one's in, next one's from Stas Kuzma, and it is, well, looks like it's in a laboratory or something. It's
well, they say during the day I work here, and after work I have my GTN Pain Cave. So it obviously does double up as some kind of office or workshop. And then, but I'd love to know what they do.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like they're in a sports science lab, and they've got like all sorts of lactate testing, VO2 testing at their fingertips. So that's amazing. And finally, got quite a fun one here from Alistair Fletcher. It's sent in over Instagram, and it's him training out with the snow. I
think this is good evidence of the fact that, you know, Bath Half Marathon was cancelled due to the snow, and we weren't making it up.
Yeah.
There was definitely snow last week. Well, do carry on sending in your photos of your Pain Cave using the hashtag GTN Pain Cave over Twitter or on Facebook.
Well, that's it for the show this week. And make sure you get involved in the caption competition below, and you get involved in the poll up here. And please do send in some information about your club if you want to get involved in the GTN Tribe. And to get hold of some of this nice GTN gear that you can see us wearing now and in some of our videos, click on the link to the shop below.
And if you haven't done so already, you can subscribe. Just click on the globe for that. And it's getting to that time of year when you might be entering a duathlon or you're getting ready for your first event, and you want a few tips on how to perfect that transition of getting your legs used to running when you've been on the bike. Well, there's a video here on just that.
And if you want to cycle faster for free, well, we've done a video with ex-pro cyclist Matthew Botcher. You can see that video by clicking down here.